Hi guys, good afternoon. And the way you just freestyled that bio, wonderful. I'm gonna have to start taking you, you're traveling with me from now on, okay? Well, thank you for having me. I got lost on my way here, but it is I saw every part of Champaign today just trying to get here. Beautiful town you guys have here, beautiful, beautiful. As Ann said, my name is Tamar Manasseh, and I am the founder and the president of MASK, Mothers and Men Against Senseless Killings in Chicago. And today I want to do something a little bit different. Normally I do these things and I listen to myself talk for a really, really, really long time. And then people have all these really great questions and I never get to answer all of them. And what I want to do today is I'll tell you a little bit about me, but I want this to be a conversation. Because I want what we do, I want everyone to get an understanding of what we do and to see themselves in what we do so that maybe one day you can do it too. So I want to make sure we have more of a dialogue. We have a conversation here and not just, you didn't come here to hear me talk, and I definitely don't want to hear myself talk anymore. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about me other than the fact that I'm a Pisces. My birthday is for the whole month of March. I do accept cash and gift cards for restaurants. But like I said, I started MASK, Mothers and Men Against Senseless Killings, 6 years ago. And I started it because I was frustrated because I had 2 young adult children at that time, well, 2 teenagers. And the thing was, like, I was a good mom, but you know what? Kids who belonged to good moms were being murdered too. And so one day, I saw a mom on TV who had just lost her daughter, and it was like looking at myself. And I didn't know her, but I knew her because I was her, or I was waiting to be her. And the thing was, growing up in the Jewish faith, every Yom HaShoah, we always read about how Reverend Neem Aller said, when they came for the trade unionists, I didn't speak up. When they came for the Catholics, I didn't speak up. When they came for all of these people, I didn't speak up. But when they came for me, no one was left to speak up for me. And when kids were getting killed on the West Side, I didn't live on the West Side. That didn't have nothing to do with me. It was bad on the West Side anyway. When kids were getting killed over East, I didn't live over East. It was bad over there too. When kids were getting killed in Inglewood, I moved away from Inglewood so my kids wouldn't get killed, so that didn't have anything to do with me either. I lived in Hyde Park in Obama land. It was supposed to be different. But when kids started getting killed in my neighborhood, guess what? It was coming for me. And one day my daughter called me and told me that her friend was murdered. And the thing about it was this friend was murdered in broad daylight. And I was on my way to my nail appointment. And the thing about the lady who does my nails is if you're late 10 minutes, that's $10 extra. Every 10 minutes that you're late, that's $10 extra. So I got to an intersection where I needed to go through to get to her, and there was a body in the middle of the street under a sheet. And I was so angry that this body was in the middle of the street because I was gonna have to pay $10 extra because I had to be completely rerouted around just to go get my nails done. I was furious. And when I got to the nail shop and I sat down and I was telling my nail tech why I shouldn't have to pay the $10 because I was late, I wanted her to feel some sort of compassion because someone was just murdered, even though I didn't feel any when I saw that kid in the street or whoever it was under that sheet. And my daughter called and she was crying. And when I answered the phone, I didn't know what was going on. And she said, "Mommy, they killed my friend." "What friend? You have friends that's getting killed? What are you talking about? What you mean they killed your friend?" And she said, "They killed my friend on the corner of 51st and King Drive. He used to wait with me every day when I went to work at the bus stop. That day she didn't go to work and he was at the bus stop." And all I could think about was, what if there were 2 sheets? And I was that angry about being late for my nail appointment. And it was 2 sheets, and one of those was my own daughter. I would have never known. And my world got so much smaller when that happened. It wasn't happening to other people's kids. It was happening in my house. That was in my house. That was my daughter's friend. And so the thing is, I gotta do something because I marvel at mothers who were strong enough to bury children and go on after that, because I'm not that strong. I can't handle that. I couldn't even stay in the room when my daughter got her ears pierced. I can't handle that. I still can't watch them get a shot. And they're like adults now. I still can't. So I know that there is no way that I could handle something as traumatic as losing one of them. It would be like losing my heart. It would be losing part of me. I would never be the same. So the thing about it is, you think to yourself, what sacrifices are you willing to make sure you don't have to make the ultimate sacrifice? So I'll sacrifice my summers. I'll sacrifice every single day in the summer. I'll sacrifice every single day of the year. I will sacrifice my Friday afternoon when it's not snowing in Chicago and it's not raining to drive 130 miles to come and talk to you. I will sacrifice that to save my kids. I will sacrifice that to help you save yours. So, next thing I know, mom was murdered on a corner, June 23rd of 2015, that was. And she was breaking up a fight. It was in June. The sun doesn't go down until what? It's not dark until about 8. It was 7:30. It was still daylight. She was breaking up a fight between two kids, and somebody came along and did a drive-by, and she was murdered. And the news reported that as her being in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's what did it for me. This woman was doing this thing that we do on the block every day, momming as a verb. She was momming. I've broken up a lot of fights between kids. I didn't expect to die for it. That's just what mothers do. We break up fights. We're referees. Everybody knows that's what moms do. But this mother doing the absolute right thing, how could anything be wrong with that? How could that be the wrong place at the wrong time? What about whoever shot her? That wasn't the wrong place at the wrong time. She was the one who was at fault for her own demise because she was doing what mothers do. So if a mother can be murdered in the process of mothering, how do I continue to mother without being murdered? I do all sorts of momish stuff all day, every day. What am I gonna be murdered for? I drive my kids around, I cook, I go to the grocery store, I spy on them, don't tell your sister I do though. I do all sorts of stuff. What part of me doing my job as a mother is gonna get me killed? How do we know how to parent our children if it gets us killed? How do we know how to parent our children if our kids keep getting killed? It's all very confusing stuff. We can't parent our children the way that our parents parented us. If we don't let our kids have enough freedom, then that hurts them. But if we give them too much, that gets them killed. It's parenthood interrupted. But then you're dealing with that, but then you're dealing with parents getting killed too. So now, how do I parent and how do I be a parent? So I'm letting the streets dictate all of this. I'm letting society dictate all of this. That's letting somebody have way too much control over my life and over my kids' lives. Something had to be done. So my thing wasn't somebody needs to do something. My thing was, so what you gonna do about this? Because clearly no one else is figuring this out. And I can't trust my kids in a world where nobody can figure out what's going on, so I gotta figure it out myself. There has to be. Nobody's just crazy. You have to believe that other parents tried to parent their children the same way that you tried to parent yours. So you can't say, oh, these kids are just crazy. No, they aren't. You're crazy for being afraid of them. So my thing was, I had to understand why it was happening, because if I could understand why it was happening, I could make it stop happening. So when the woman was murdered on the corner, the idea was, we absolutely knew that violence would occur in that place. You could pinpoint where it was gonna happen. There would be retaliation, there would be a cycle. If you could interrupt that cycle, you've been a success. So we went to that corner 3 days after she was murdered, 3 days before her funeral, and we sat there and we cooked. And we weren't asking for anything. We weren't trying to get nobody to vote for us. We weren't trying to get nobody to tell us what was going on. We were just there, momming. We were just there. And at first, there was, of course, an air of mistrust. Nobody trusts people in certain neighborhoods who have been forced to get used to living in certain conditions. They are far more used to random acts of violence than they are random acts of kindness. So couldn't nobody understand why y'all giving free food out? What's in this food? What y'all doing? This experiment or something? Y'all the police? It was all of that. And it took a few days for the community to start to really trust us, to kind of let us in. And we had to inform the police, the first, second day we were out there, we're not here. We're not snitches. We aren't here to work. We don't work for you. Sometimes this is a community policing strategy. Sometimes the community has to police the police, and that's what we're here to do. So we're not only here to protect them from themselves and protect them from each other, we're also here to protect them from you too, because we know what you do here too. So it was a completely different approach to the way that we look at a community watch or building community, because that was the building blocks of it. It was creating trust. We had to do that first. And we were there every day. Then a few days, people really started to talk to us, and they started to open up, and we started to build relationships, and we had this barbecue grill going every day. And the thing about a barbecue grill is we don't really like cooked food. It's not that people can't cook, because a lot of people can't cook, but that's not what this was about. The thing was about, it takes time to cook on a barbecue grill. And while you're standing around and you're waiting on food to get ready, guess what? We're having a conversation, because there are 20 pieces of chicken on this grill and there's 60 people out here. So everybody is in line. We all gonna wait on this chicken to get ready. And while we're waiting on this chicken to get ready, we cook small portions just for this reason. While we're waiting on this chicken to get ready, we're getting to know each other. We're having a conversation. We're talking about our day, we're talking about our lives, we're talking about our kids, we're talking about what we have in common, we're talking about what we don't have in common. We're talking about everything, but we're getting to know each other. And it's a lot of us out there. And everybody is safe because everybody is waiting on food. It's perfect. So once you get your food, it's not like you want to leave, because you were in the middle of a really great conversation. And you just can't walk off because you got your food. That's no class. No one does that. So every day we started doing this. Every day people started talking to each other. They started to get to know each other. They started to get to know each other's kids. We slowly but surely started to build community. And what I learned in that time, where community exists, violence can't, because everybody knows each other. And the thing is, I don't just care about my kids being safe. I care about your kids being safe too. My kids play with your kids. My kids hang out with your kids. So if somebody is shooting, I'm not gonna just grab my kid, I'm gonna grab yours too. So I have to protect, in the process of protecting my own kids, I'm protecting yours too. And that's what community is all about. So did I know that I would be doing this when we first started? No, I did not know that this was going to happen. I'm really happy, but I didn't know that this was going to happen. I didn't know that it was going to go like this. And I was just telling somebody the other day, if I'd known that all that I was going to learn and everything that was going to come out of what we were building then, I would have never started calling this organization Mothers Against Senseless Killing, because that's so small compared to what we do now. It's not just about killings. It's about the environment that creates killers and creates victims. It's about violence as anything but a single issue. Because violence is a thing, but it's not really. Violence is made up of a lot of different elements. And if you don't address each element that creates violence, you're not going to stop violence. And so now what we do on that corner is so much more than just cooking and being there. It is addressing each one of those elements piece by piece. And people will say, you know what, I think y'all doing too much. I think that, a lot of not-for-profits start off like this, organizations start off and, they really want to help, and then they get into all of this stuff and they wash out because they don't know what they want to do. I know exactly what I want to do, and I want to know why you don't want to do the same thing. Because if this is what the people need and nobody's giving it to them, and I see that they need it, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to make sure they get it. So we started building a school out of shipping containers. And it's so weird because I hated school. I was the worst student in the world. So now I'm building a school. How the irony of that, right? But the thing was, for Inglewood to be as violent and poor as it is, the city of Chicago shut down all of the public high schools in the neighborhood. So we had 700 kids coming out of CPS elementary schools. When they graduated 8th grade, they had no high schools to go to. And so you want to send them to high schools miles away outside of where their home schools are. But the thing about it is they have to go through multiple gang territories to get there. And these are not good schools. You aren't sending them to some of the better schools in Chicago. You're sending them to schools that are on life support. That if too many kids go there, it's going to create another issue of overcrowding. It's too many different gangs that are already represented in those schools anyway. And the kids from my block were saying, what, I'm going to a bad school, I'm gonna leave my bad school to go to somebody else's bad school and not learn nothing and get killed in the process. I completely understood where they were coming from. So nobody said anything about all of the 8th grade, the 14 and 15-year-old dropouts that the city of Chicago created last year. Nobody said anything about that. Nobody addressed that. And so all of these kids, and you got to remember, a lot of kids only eat at school. They eat breakfast and lunch at school. And so now if they don't go to school, where are they eating breakfast and lunch? So in October, I called around to every high school in Chicago. Every high school in Chicago. None of them saw a peak in enrollment, a spike in enrollment, not one. So where did all those kids go? No one's asking where those kids went. But when we started construction on that school, we used to have kids on top of kids on top of kids hanging around the gate watching the construction every day because they weren't at school. And we had to take it upon ourselves to create a space where they could be, to create a space where they could have educational options to even get a meal. We had to do that. Without the state, without the city, without any help from any government, any big funders, any of that. We had to do that. We had to get creative like mothers often do, especially poor mothers. We are magicians. And the thing is, people will say, well, you're getting into the educational field. You don't want to do that. Well, if I don't do it, who's going to do it? So we just let the kids starve until somebody else sees that this is a problem and you haven't seen it was a problem already? Nobody else saw this, so I'm going to wait on somebody else to catch up. But meanwhile, where are these kids? What happens to these kids? So people are going to tell you, oh, you're biting off more than you can chew. You can't do this. You can't do that. Don't listen to them. That's their own insecurities and their own fears and their own limitations speaking. Don't let them speak that garbage on you. And I think that everybody in this room is here because everybody wants to do something. Everybody sees that something needs to be done. And I think that that's what this conversation is about. What do we do and how do we do it? So however I can help with that, that's what I want to talk about. Let's talk about what you want to do and how I can help with that. So I'm going to open the floor up to questions now. Are there any questions? No questions? Oh, hey, Debbie. That's my Facebook friend, Debbie. I love her. It's scary. I'm scary. I mean, I am. I don't want any friends that aren't gonna work. I don't need friends that don't work. If you aren't about doing the work of saving our kids, I don't necessarily need to be friends with you. It's as simple as that. I don't need to take pictures with you. I don't need to do anything. We don't phony kick it. I don't do that. I don't need that. You need a photo op with me more than I need one with you. And I'm not gonna give you that. I'm not gonna help you become another deadbeat politician because you took a photo with me and people think that you do something for the community that you don't do.
I guess that's what I meant.
Yeah.
The photo op.
Oh, no. That's what, I mean, I've seen a lot of it. They're not gonna do anything because it's work, because it's around the clock, everyday work. You have to commit to it. If violence happens every day, you have to commit to stopping it every day. That's how it works. You can't do it once a month when you march. You can't do it once every 6 months when you do a huge march. You can't do it once a year when you shut down the expressway. You have to do it every day. People are dying from gun violence every single day, and it needs to be fought tooth and nail every single day. Just as viciously, but we don't do that. We go slow, and that's the problem with it. And I am very intense, and I'm very passionate about what I do, and a lot of people just cannot handle that. I understand, sometimes I can't handle myself. But, I mean, that's how it goes. If people don't want to sincerely, they don't want to do the work. They want to say they did it, they want to hang out with people who do it, they just don't want to do it, because it's hard. So, yeah, that's it. Right here. You're next. What's your name?
I'm Teresa Taylor.
Hello, Teresa. You're from Danville.
Originally from Chicago, so I do
Okay.
understand all of that. But what I wanted to ask, when you did every day going out to feed the community, did you all stay in one spot or you kept going to different
See,
spots?
you stay in one spot because it's funny. A state senator came to the block one day, Mark Kirk. And Mark Kirk was in a wheelchair when he came to the block. And I really like him. I really, and it's not a lot of GOPers that I care for, but I liked him. So he came to the block one day and he said, you know, what's the gang that like kind of controls things around here? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he was like, you know, who calls the shots? And I was like, wow. I said, I think it's us, sir. I think it's us. I think, wait, we have a color, we got a block. Yep, it's us. It's us. The thing about it is, you have to respect whatever neighborhood you're going into. You have to respect what's going on there when you get there. You have to fit it. You can't make it fit you. It eventually will, but you have to go in and you have to respect what's going on there. And the thing is, you don't move around because you don't know what's going on and you want to be safe. That's why it was important for us to wear pink t-shirts. I wanted to make sure that we were seen, that you could see us. We're not like sneaking being here. Like, no, like we setting stuff on fire. We got on pink t-shirts. We out here painting our toenails. We are here. Like, this is our living room right now. And the thing was, you can have every other corner in this neighborhood. This one, though, is ours. And we're here every day, and I don't care. You want to come through here shooting at 8:05? We leave at 8. You do that. But don't come through here between 4 and 8. Don't come through here. Because this is our block when we're here. This is our block. Don't do that. And the thing is, that keeps you safe because you're not moving around. Because everybody knows after a while, don't shoot down there because that's where those mothers sit. That's where those people be at. Don't go down there. That's what ends up happening. And it's not just that one corner. It becomes pretty much all the corners, probably 8-block radius or something. Don't go over there shooting because that's where those people are. And that's their turf. And you can only build that if you stay in one place. So that's why it needs to be more than one group so you can go to multiple places.
Respecting your work in the community, but you did mention you do intervene in community police relations. And if you could talk a little bit about that. And I wanted to also mention that there was a scandal in the CPD again.
That's what they do.
This one is a higher level thing because it's, I mean, I don't know if it's been covered in the Tribune and the media there, but they have an implicit bias training program now in the CPD. But the people that are teaching it are actually multiple offenders that have gotten in many cases against them for,
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. Gotta love those guys.
They get away with it.
It's insanity. It really is. So, I'm choosing my words because there are cameras in here. We have a strained relationship with CPD. I like to think we're like a divorced couple. We both want what's best for the kids, we just really don't like each other. So we really need to try to get along for the sake of the community, but we just aren't really good at that. So what I've come up with, actually, CPD needs a lot of work from within. And I don't believe that you can be in a relationship with anybody else until you have a healthy relationship with yourself. And CPD can't do much for a community when it's in disarray, when it's in complete chaos internally. It needs to fix itself before it could help fix our city. So what Mask is actually working on, I actually just did a piece about it for the New York Times. We are actually asking the new mayor, whoever it will be, it's the first time we will work on creating policy, but we're asking that they actually expand the CPD's budget, but not to hire more detectives and cops, but to actually hire civilians to do what we do. To sit out every day, to actually hire poor people in neighborhoods where violence occurs, pay them to do what we do, pay them to keep an eye on their neighborhoods. And how that works is you get paid to basically sit on your porch or to stop the violence while it's still in your house. So now, if your mom is getting paid, she doesn't need a son who's gonna go out and do whatever he has to do to help supplement her income or bring more money into the house, because she has income coming in now. She has a stream of income that she didn't have before. And she'll tell that kid, you know what, don't go do nothing, because the thing about it is the lower the gun violence and the level of violent crime drops, the more people get paid. So it's incentivized. So the thing becomes, hey, I don't need you doing anything that's gonna get anybody shot or anybody robbed or anything like that, because if that happens, I don't get paid. That affects my income. That affects our household income. And the thing about that, like us, the police don't come around. If we don't call them, they don't come. They aren't invited to our parties. We don't need them. There hasn't been a conflict in 4 years that we could not solve, that we couldn't deal with. And I mean, there have been guns that have come out and everything, and there has been nothing that has ever happened out there that we could not handle as a group on that corner that we needed CPD to come and intervene in. Not one thing. And I think the one time we did call them, they didn't come. Yeah, they didn't, remember? Yeah, they didn't show up. And that wasn't even on our block. That was on a block down the street. They didn't show up. So even that, we ended up having to deal with without their help. So the thing about it is, what if there were less police in the community because the community was policing itself? So now, there's not as many cruisers. There's less possibility and chances for, potentially deadly interactions between the people and the police. The only time these civilian officers actually call the police is when there is a situation that they cannot control. When it does look like, this may be something that we can't handle, you need to come. Only then and only then do you come here. Other than that, you don't come here. You can drive through every now and again, but it really takes care of that over-policing problem that we see in neighborhoods like Inglewood and places like that. And the thing is, it saves us a lot of money to do that. And that's more money actually going back into the city economy. And if we can actually save on police and overtime and everything in neighborhoods like that, guess what? We have enough money now where we can put a gun safety education program in CPS elementary schools and primary school to start teaching these kids about gun safety at an early age. Like sex ed and like driver's ed, we aren't just gonna legislate ourselves out of this gun problem. You have to educate out of it as well. And it has to start, the younger the better. If you get kids by middle school, it's too late. You need them early. They're not gonna necessarily give you the guns. You just have to create a community that guns just aren't really any use. They don't need them. They don't want them. So you just gotta change the attitude about guns. So that's what we're working on right now, to get the city to kind of embrace something like that. I think it fixes a lot of stuff. With one fell swoop, we can fix a lot of stuff. So that's, and I'm sure they won't like that, but that's what we're proposing. So I don't know, did that answer your question? That was a whole lot of answer. Okay, any more questions? Anybody?
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Jamila.
Hello, Jamila.
I'm from West Inglewood. I was just wondering, are you concerned with community backlash of the whole community policing strategy partnered with CPD? Because I would imagine that the residents might take that as people possibly being informants, and like you said, mass, you said y'all aren't snitches, and then people say, if somebody's being paid by CPD, that kind of looks like an informant situation, even if people are aware that that person is being paid, because I would imagine that CPD wants some type of trade-off. They're not gonna pay community members to police the community without receiving information on, like you said, people asking like, the gangs in control of this territory, like that.
If there's no information to give, no one's giving information. Because if parents are saying, boy, if you don't give me that gun, I'm gonna use it on you. You're messing with my money. Things don't happen when we're on that block because we're on that block. That's why they don't happen. So if the police want information from me, I have no information for you because don't nothing happen out here. So the thing is, if everybody's mother, if all of these people that haven't had an income in a very long time, they don't have any skills, nothing, really no education, but they are making money, and these are your kids, and they're in your home, and they see what you're doing, and they know, well, my mama ain't no snitch, and I know your mama not. This is how they make their money. Let me act right. It gives me a chance now where I can maybe pay for bus fare to send my kid to school every day. I can be home. I can be more present. I can be present. I can do a lot more than I used to do. So maybe the situations that were created out of poverty when we didn't have that extra income coming in, those situations are alleviated because my kid isn't out there doing those things anymore. He doesn't have to sell this. He doesn't have to shoot this person. He doesn't have to do any of this. So if there's no information to give, there's no information to give. And then on top of that, who cares what the police want in trade-off? How about you not getting nothing? How about that? So, I mean, what Nancy Pelosi say? How about nothing? Zero. You're not going to get anything. So that's where this is. And I think that mask has really gained the trust of the community to know that there's nothing that I would ever create that would be at the detriment of the community. I would never do that. So, yeah. And snitches get stitches. No, I'm just joking. But
I was just gonna ask you to touch on the part of a question about the collaboration.
oh no, yeah, it's not necessarily a collaboration. We just work together. Like, it's just, honestly, it's just, the first year of mask, CPD wanted to integrate mask into CAPS. No. I've built this relationship with the community. Now you need to build your own. You're not gonna take what we've built and wreck it with all of your madness. That's not gonna happen. And that's the same thing that we're saying here. We're not gonna allow that. It's a part of CPD, but not a part of CPD at the same time. Does that make sense? Following that, kinda? Okay.
Hi. So earlier in your talk, and I understand that you said it partially because there are cameras in the room, but you mentioned that MASS and the CPD have a relationship with the community that's similar to like a divorced couple. And I thought that was a really interesting metaphor because other people from Chicago and also from other Black cities have described police as like an occupying army, not as maybe a divorce.
An abusive relationship.
As an abusive relationship,
Mhm.
and actually as like a genocidal tool, as a tool used by the state to kidnap Black children, to kill Black children, and to really coerce and control the population. And so looking at what the Black youth in the city are doing right now around No Cop Academy, and also with the recent execution of a 17-year-old on the west side, I think it's really important that we make it very clear that the relationship between the CPD is an abusive one. And it's always been an abusive one, and we should not base our actions on some kind of hope that has no evidence that they're going to
change their behavior. So I guess that was a statement, not a question. But my question is, has Manasseh done any work with domestic violence in the Black community, particularly with domestic violence between parents and children? There's a Black scholar, her name is Stacey Patton, who has done a lot of research with child abuse and violence once the children get older. And actually, you take heat maps of parents spanking their children, and you put it over heat maps of active shooting locations, they look almost exactly the same. So since you are mothers who have children, have you done any work training mothers, training fathers on how to discipline their children using methods other than physical violence?
Part of that, okay, she said that, I didn't, but I agree, 100%. So, it is, we completely understand who CPD is. We completely understand it. And I completely agree with you, completely, I do. And the thing is, people don't want police. I understand that. If you watch some of my Facebook Live videos, I spar with the police on a regular basis for exactly the reasons you said. And the thing about it is, you get rid of the police, it's not enough people willing to do the work of community policing though. So then what happens? Because the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I'm all for getting rid of the police, but then what do you do? Then what do you do? You're gonna have you have to have corners like mass corners on every block. And until people are ready to do that, are we really in a position where we can say we don't want any more police? So, I mean, I see exactly what you're saying, but I'm out there every single day. And I know how hard it is to get people to go sit on their front porches. Just watch your kids. That's all you gotta do. And I think we really have to be more active in our salvation. We can't just talk about it, we gotta be about it. It has to become the cool thing to do. What are you, girl, what you doing? I'm watching the kids. That's what it has to turn into. It has to become the coolest thing in the world, the thing that everybody wants to do. That's the only way you're gonna get to a place where the police are gonna stop, where we're gonna be able to stop them from abusing us the way that they do. But until then, it's not enough of us saying, this has to stop. It's not enough of us saying, this is what we're gonna do to make you stop. It's not enough of us doing it. So that's where I'm at with that. I completely agree. We just need to get there to a point where that's what we're all saying, where we can all agree on that. And then once we agree, we can all get active. But as far as disciplining kids, on that corner, we do a lot of stuff. And the thing is, anybody who wants to come out there and talk and, kind of connect with people in the community, we invite anybody to come out and talk about anything. Come and do anything. I think that you can never share enough with people who no one ever shares anything with. So as far as telling people how to discipline their kids or teaching them how to do it, you can't tell them their glass is dirty, you just gotta show them a clean glass. You can't judge people. You can't tell them, don't do this, don't do that. You can't. That's how they live their lives. All you can say is, I don't do it that way. You can make suggestions, but you can't tell anybody. That is the quickest way for people to tell you, we don't want you here anymore. So you have to respect how people raise their kids. Now you can show them different, and that's what we do. We're not telling anybody not to do anything. We're just showing you what we do. And we just hope you follow our lead, and that's how that works. So we work on domestic abuse. We see everything out there, everything. We see a little bit of everything on that corner. We address everything. And like I said, I'm just a mother. I'm not a teacher, I'm not a social worker, I'm not any of these things. But all of the stuff that comes to us, we have to learn on the fly how to address these things. And sometimes we have to call our friends, phone a friend and say, hey, look, I got this situation, and can you send somebody over here to deal with this? Because this is above my pay grade. You have to know your limitations. And so the thing is, we have a lot of allies that we do call in to help with things like that. But that's how we go about addressing things. Once again, it's all very active. I can show you better than I can tell you. So that's what we do.
Would you elaborate just a bit on the school
This is an adventure. So we can't call it a school. We have to call it a community resource center, or the man will try to shut us down. So that's what we're calling it, but it's really going to be set up like a homeschooling network, because, I mean, that's so common, and it can't be regulated, and, you know, but we're like the Bernie Sanders of community organizations. It's like each donation is like the average, like $26 or something. Like, that's how it goes. We literally got money to buy containers from like little donations, from people who believed in what we were doing, who donated money, and we went and got these containers, and that's how we do everything that we do. It's all very grassroots. So we have all these teachers who've retired, who were laid off by CPS. We even have some who actually came out of U of I just last year. But we have just all sorts of teachers from different kind of backgrounds saying, I want to help. I want to teach something. I want to teach there. And so this is on a volunteer basis. So in our containers, we'll be able to accommodate at least 120 kids a day. And we're working with different corporations and companies and stuff, with CEOs and, you know, managers and executives, and they're actually going to send people out to teach classes and like take our kids in as interns and potentially give them jobs once they're done with the course. So we're not just teaching to the job, to the test, we're teaching to the job. That's what we want to do. We want this to be something like unlike anything anyone's ever seen before. And we don't want our kids to feel like it was something wrong with them, and that's why they're in a school like that. Because the thing about these particular kind of schools, this project is going to cost us about $80,000 to finish, from breaking ground to kids in a classroom, about 80 grand. And the thing about it is, Chicago has plenty of vacant lots. And the thing about it, you can't fill all these large high schools and these large buildings because gang territories. You can't have kids that won't go across the street because that's a different gang over there. And if that's where the school is, guess who's not going there? The kids that live on that side of the street. But I bet there's a vacant lot over there. So if you put up another one of these, it's kind of like the Pineywood project. This is kind of inspired by the one-room schoolhouses that, you know, black folks once had in the South. Didn't want to educate our kids, so we educated our own kids. That's what we did. HBCUs came out of those one-room schoolhouses. And it's kind of like the idea is, if we did it once, we can probably do it again. And so these little pop-up schools, you put them on vacant lots all over the neighborhood, you'll have more kids going to those schools every day. And when you add all that up, that will be bigger than any big building, any high school, or one of the larger buildings that would have been in the neighborhood. So you have more kids, actually, will be more kids attending these pocket schools than it will be the larger high schools. So that's what we're trying to get to. It's a leaner, meaner way of educating our kids. So if you got $26 you want to donate, it's Get Behind the Mask. No, it's ontheblock.org. Anybody else? Any more questions? Nobody has a question? Oh, back there.
Just a little bit to piggyback on the school education question. I'm Angela Williams from college. I can help you, but maybe.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much for coming down here and finding your way to us.
Thank you for having me.
Being from this community, also working on this campus, I love the connection with school and to what it can do for the rest of our lives. Can you tell us about the kids, the students, or the kids you hope to educate, like their future aspirations? What are their dreams? What do they want to do? What do they see themselves doing? What do their daughters want to do? What do they want to do?
Dude, my daughter, she wants to be rich. I mean, that's all. That's pretty much all that I can get out of her. She's 22. I don't know. I don't even ask questions anymore. I just want her out of my house. But I don't know. But I think honestly, it's kind of heartbreaking with kids in neighborhoods like the one we're starting off in. Honestly, they just kind of want to live through the next year. Like it's a completely a one day at a time kind of situation. Nobody, it's really sad when kids don't feel safe enough to dream. When they don't feel like they have time to dream, they won't be here that long. It's just, how do I make it through the day? How do I make it through tomorrow? It's not what's gonna happen to me in 5 years or where I see myself in 5 years or what I wanna do. They're not, it takes away all their ambition. And so first we have to build that back up. We have to help them understand, okay, first we're gonna work on staying alive. Now, what else do you wanna do after living? What else do you wanna do? But it's really sad that that's still the point that we're at. We have one kid that was shot 17 times on Christmas Eve and lived. Can you imagine what the quality of life is gonna be like for him going forward? And for all of his friends to see that. That is terrifying. And so sometimes you have to make suggestions. You have to just make suggestions. We try to, give them ideas from everywhere. We try to just inundate them with it. Here, you want to be an astronaut? Okay, let's be an astronaut. You want to be a chef? Okay, let's get some food and cook. Like whatever it is that we can introduce them to, we try to do that. Quick story. One day, I took some cold tablets. It was sinus thing because it was, really bad, like allergy season. And I'm driving down the street and we're pulling up on the block. And I pull up and we have these pergolas on the block and they're about 9 feet tall, 10 feet tall. They're about 9 feet. And I see this lady standing head and torso over the pergolas. And I'm looking around like, am I high? What was in that cold tablet? Oh my God. And it's a stop sign, so as we're moving closer, I'm like, okay, it's not going away. Was this like a spiked batch of antihistamines? What's happening? So we pull up and my son is in the car and I don't even want to say, do you see what I see? Because I'm really tripping right now, right? And when we pull up, it is a lady on stilts and the circus is just on the block. I'm like, circus camp? Who thought to bring a circus camp here? There was a clown. The clown had to go because we're not cool with clowns. But the fact that there was a circus camp on this block, that's never happened before. But even that, so who wants to join the circus? I don't know if we're gonna have any takers, but at least that's something that's now an option. Go ahead, go figure. You too can be the woman on the stilts if that's what you want to do with your life. But whatever options we can present to kids in that neighborhood, that's what we'll do. Even something as crazy as a clown. Because a lot of them are clowns already, but I'm gonna stop. Any more questions?
So you mentioned, you referred to growing up in the Jewish faith.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you have a religious role also. There are several people in the room that are involved in an interfaith group in our community here that we're actually at a conference tomorrow. And one of the things that we look at together is what can we as religious people do together, for the common good. Look away from our differences and do good together. Do you find allies in different faith communities? Is there sort of grassroots support in churches and synagogues and others that are helping you, or what can you say about that?
I think so. I think what I'm seeing with Judaism is, and I think it's happening across all religious faiths, all faith groups. Religion is coming out of the synagogues. It's coming out of the churches. It's coming out of the mosques. It's becoming more active and in the world and hands-on. You talk about all of the good that you do in the world at church. You talk about all the good you're supposed to do at temple. You learn all of these things, but most of the time we don't take them outside of our places of worship. We don't take it out into the world with us and share it with the world. And I think I'm starting to see more of that. Every year we do Sukkot on the block, and it's awesome because it's not too many times you're gonna go to a place like 75th and Stewart and see Jewish women dancing the horror and doing the wobble too. You're just not gonna see that. Where are you gonna see that at? We do Passover on the corner. We broke the fast for Yom Kippur together. We do all of these things together. We do Easter, we do Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. We do all sorts of stuff. We try to respect everybody's faith, and we try to invite everybody in. It's really a big tent. We really try to do that. So I think that faith has to come out into the world. God has to, the light that lives inside of these places of worship has to be shared with the rest of the world. It just can't be locked up in those four walls. Any more questions? Mary?
I have a question about how you deal with, like, the city. I know I see you post a lot, and I know you're very against candidates, how they kind of pop up for the photo ops, they pop up during election season, but not too much at other times. So we're new over in Danville, significantly more conservative than, your area, and more so than Champaign. So we face a little bit of resistance, even mentioning gun, even if it's gun violence prevention. So I guess I try to grapple with the extent that we need these people as partners, but also that they haven't been active enough in the struggle. How do you, how do you hope to deal with them in the future, or we just would we be better off trying to do this without them because of resistance that we face with them? And then how do we sit at the table with them? I was with several last night, got kind of upset with them. So where I feel like I'm burning bridges, but at the same time, are these bridges that are never going to be helpful, or am I being politically correct for these people to just be nice to us because the election's April 2nd? And then, like, how do I use them for their good and just, you know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like some resentment towards them. And
Why would you ever ask me a question like this?
I feel like I need to shrink, honestly, because I need to be here with you.
All I can say is, burn, baby, burn, Disco Inferno. It is my words to live by. Because the thing is, I don't trust anybody who comes up with a way to fix gun violence in 8 weeks. During the duration of a campaign season in Chicago is about 8 weeks. So you are gonna fix a problem as big as gun violence in Chicago in 8 weeks. That's what your plan is. You came up with this plan in 8 weeks. Because think about what all of these people were doing prior to announcing that they were running for office. They were somewhere not thinking about any of this stuff. But now all of a sudden, you have the answer. I can't trust that. I don't trust you because you're a liar and you're lying to me. And that's the worst thing. Because if I can't trust what you say, if I know that you don't know what you're talking about and you aren't going to do anything to help, you're only going to hurt us worse because you have the power to do that. Because once you're elected, you have a lot more power than you had as a candidate. And you're going to ignore me. You're going to ignore what I'm saying. So the only way I can make you hear me is not vote for you. Because once you're in, you aren't going to hear me anyway. You haven't heard me in all this time, you're not going to hear me. So the thing is, I think what you did was right. You don't rely on politicians, you become an elected official yourself. Pissed off constituents make the best office holders. Remember where you came from, remember why you ran, remember why you did it. Take that into office. These people don't do that. They don't do it. They did it for the job. They did it for the power. They did it for the connections. They did it to become a cog in the machine. They didn't do it for the people. And the thing is, I think more people who remember that, I think everybody should run for office. I think we all should. I think everybody should become write-in candidates for everything. I think everybody should. I'm a write-in candidate for mayor. You know why? Because I needed to be able to vote for somebody that I could actually believe in. So I've come to the conclusion, I'm going to become a write-in for every election ever. Like, I'm just going to do it forever. That's what you have to do. But I think that what you're doing, sometimes you're not going to be able to make friends. You got to be your own friend. That's it. Sometimes you are going to have to represent your people. You aren't going to be able to find anybody that's going to represent you honestly or actually put your best concerns, your best interests out front. There's a lot of people that aren't going to do that, so you have to do it. It's hard, but it's necessary. So I hope that I got a lighter for you in my purse. I'll give it to you before we go. Is that it?
We've worked a lot through the schools trying considered violence and public health topic. And you mentioned early intervention with education in the schools. So you have to have the schools with you if you're going to do that. What about resources of the public health system? There's maternal child block grants that, originated with mothers on blocks trying to do health for their children. So how about pulling those resources in for what you're trying to do to help these kids at an early age?
I didn't know those existed, but now I do. I think we're gonna try to do that. So before I go, I'm gonna need your phone number so we can talk a bit more about that. But thank you so much for that. Did you make sure you two heard that? Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. So because you do come from that background, do you see the benefit in that?
Yes, I think nurses are an important resource. There's school nurses and emergency room nurses. They see violence every day. And, we have a problem in Danville, the most violent city in Illinois, but it's rape. That is the issue there. That's increasing that violence rate. So, my feeling is use the existing resources, demand that they be at that table to help you on this. We're spending billions of dollars on prosecution for these violence cases, for treating these violence, gunshot wounds in emergency rooms. We need those directed towards primary prevention so that these kids can breathe and have.
Thank you. I like you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Is it my time? Is that time? Yes. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry, I'm done.